Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I hope everybody's doing fine tonight. Might have a little bit of latecomers showing up, and that's okay. We are absolutely fine with showing up whenever you feel like it or catching the rewatch. It's absolutely fine. So, this is something that I'm sure a lot of people want to cover at some point in time, and it's interesting because it has to do with the United States Constitution. Well, I could just basically read off of the little script that's here. So, the Federalist, also commonly referred to as the Federalist Papers, is a series of 85 essays, and they were written by Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, James Madison between October 1787 and May of 1788. These essays, they were published anonymously under the pen name Publius, which is funny, in various New York State newspapers at the time. So the Federalist Papers were written and published to urge New Yorkers to ratify the proposed United States Constitution. And when they say ratify, was basically make it a solid document, make it something that was complete, give it validity. And this, of course, which was drafted in Philadelphia in the summer of 1787. The reason for this was lobbying for the adoption of the Constitution over the existing Articles of Confederation. The essays explain particular provisions of the Constitution in detail. For this reason, and because Hamilton and Madison were each members of the Constitutional Convention, the Federalist Papers are often used today to help interpret the intentions of those drafting the Constitution. It's pretty important. So these Federalist Papers, they were published primarily in two New York State newspapers, the New York Packet and the Independent Journal. They were reprinted in other newspapers in New York State and several cities in other states. Hello, Tweety. Good to see you. Happy days, happy days. Looks like you're the first one in here. A bound edition with revisions and corrections by Hamilton was published in 1788 by printers J. and A. McLean. An edition published by printer Jacob Gideon in 1818 with revisions and corrections by Madison was first to identify each essay by its author's name. Because of its publishing history, the assignment of authorship, numbering, and the exact wording may vary with different editions of the Federalist. So, that's just a brief introduction to that portion of it. But of course, there is more of an introduction. And that particular introduction, and I'll pull it up here so everybody can read along with it if they so desire, because it is quite interesting. If I can just get it to move about here. All right. Crazy stuff. So, this, of course, is going to be a longer series, and I may double up on some of them. But this is to maybe give a little bit of point to the United States Constitution that really is the basis for the existence of the United States, making it one of the most sacred documents of the United States. And these are just essays. This isn't the Constitution. I'm not a constitutional lawyer, and I couldn't begin to even tell you what all of this says. But I can present some of it, and hopefully you find it interesting. If you do, make sure you just reach down there, hit the like button, subscribe, and pass it around. Hopefully this is as informative to you as it is to me. Federalist #1. This is for the Independent Journal, and the author on this one was Alexander Hamilton. Not political. Oh, it's all political. To the people of the state of New York. Okay, so we're starting out pretty strong there. Just a second. There we go. After an unequivocal experience of the inefficiency of the subsisting federal government, you are called upon to deliberate on a new constitution for the United States of America. The subject speaks of its own importance, comprehending its consequences nothing less than the existence of the Union, the safety and the welfare of the parts of which it is composed, the fate of an empire in many respects the most interesting in the world. Has been frequently remarked that it seems to have been reversed to the people of this country by their conduct and example to decide the important question whether societies of men are really capable or not of establishing good government from reflection and choice, or whether they are forever destined to depend for their political constitution on accident and force. If there be any truth in the remark, the crisis at which we arrived may with propriety be regarded as an era in which that decision is to be made, and a wrong election of the part we shall act may, in this view, deserve to be considered as the general misfortune of mankind. Interesting. This idea will add the inducements of philanthropy to those of patriotism, to heighten the solicitude for which all considerate and good men must feel for the event. Now, whenever he says men, he's talking about mankind. He's not talking about just men in general, so don't get all panties up in a wad. Happy will it be if our choice should be directed by judicious estimates of our true interests, unperplexed and unbiased by considerations not connected with the public good. But this is a thing more adherently to be wished than seriously to be expected. The plan offered to our deliberations affect too many particular interests, innovates upon too many local institutions, not to involve in its discussion a variety of objects foreign to its merits and of views, passions, and prejudices little favorable to the truth of, or the discovery of truth. Among the most formidable of these obstacles which the new Constitution will have to encounter may readily be distinguished the obvious interest of certain classes of men in every state to resist all changes which may hazard a diminution of the power, emolument, and consequences of the offices they hold under the state establishments, and the perverted ambition of another class of men who will either hope to aggrandize themselves by confusions of their country, or will flatter themselves with fair prospects of elevation from the subdivision of the empire into several partial confederacies than from its union under one government. Interesting. It is not, however, my design to dwell upon the observations of this nature. I am well aware that this would be disingenuous to resolve indiscriminately the opposition of any set of men merely because their situations might subject them to suspicion, into interested or ambitious views. Candor will oblige us to admit that even such men may be actuated by upright intentions, and cannot be doubted that much of the opposition which has made its appearance, or may hereafter make its appearance, will spring from sources blameless at least, if not respectable, the honest errors of minds led astray by preconceived jealousies and fears. It's interesting that they're taking note that men are very corruptible, that it may not be their intention to dissuade, to cause a drift between other people, a separation. A United States is what they're calling for, a United States of the Confederacies, of becoming one solid union, handled by a single government. Never really thought of it that way. Especially when you talk about separation of states and giving the states power. Seems a little odd that they would have something such as this in there. But it's still pretty interesting. Gotta love it when things crash right in the middle of doing something. So I may have to start this all over again. I'm not sure how much was actually caught of that because it gave problems. Interesting, huh? Just like that. Just lost it. Just lost the stream like really bad. Okay. Well, now that that's happened, crazy. I don't see that anybody's actually watching the stream, and it is not working like it should. Excellent connection. Okay. Damn. Well, I'll just say this once. Yes. I think that says it all right there. So, how about I start this all over again from the very beginning, because I don't know how much got cut out from my computer crashing. And I can always cut the back part of this out. Crazy. So let me share this again. There it is. Crazy, crazy days. I just don't understand what is wrong with having a decent little stream. That should be no big issue, should be no problem. But for whatever reason, my computer decided to just crap out. Not here in a live stream with Malloy. Oh, say hi to Mr. Malloy. He's good people. You should give him a big kudos. He's a good person. Anyhow, I'll try this again because, like I said, I'm not sure if this worked or not. So we'll start it all over again. Federalist, number 1. For the Independent Journal, was a particular paper at that period of time. And the author was Alexander Hamilton for this particular one. It was to the people of the state of New York. Whew. After an unequivocal experience of the inefficiency of subsisting federal government, you are called upon to deliberate on a new constitution for the United States of America. The subject speaks its own importance, comprehending in its consequences nothing less than the existence of the Union, the safety and welfare of the parts of which it is composed. The fate of an empire, in many respects the most interesting in the world, has been frequently remarked that it seems to have been reserved to the people of this country, by their conduct and example, to decide the important question whether societies of men are really capable, or if they're not, of establishing good government from reflection and choice, or whether they are forever destined to depend on their political constitution, on accident and force. If there be any truth in the remark, the crisis at which we are arrived may, with propriety, be regarded as the era in which that decision is to be made, and a wrong election of the part we shall act may in this view deserve to be considered as the general misfortune of mankind. We don't like misfortune. Misfortune is bad. That being said, this idea will add the inducements of philanthropy to those of patriotism to heighten the solitude, which all considerate and good men must feel for this particular event. Happy will it be if our choice should be directed by a judicious estimate of our true interests, unperplexed and unbiased by considerations not connected with the public good, but this is a thing more adherently to be wished than seriously to be expected. The plan offered to our deliberations affects too many particular interests, innovates upon too many local institutions, not to involve in its discussion a variety of objects foreign to its merits, and of views, passions, and prejudices with little favorable to the discovery of truth. Among the most formidable of the obstacles which the new Constitution will have to encounter may readily be distinguished the obvious interest of a certain class of men in every state to resist all changes. And the changes that he's speaking of are the changes in power. It's an interesting thought. They're going to be looking at changes in power that men may not want to give up. We've heard something similar from other presidents that believe the same thing. Those changes of power are very important. The plan offered to our deliberations affects too many particular interests, innovates upon too many local institutions not to involve in its discussion a variety of objects foreign to its merits, and of views, passions, and prejudices little favorably to the discovery of truth. That's pretty important. Hey, Pixel. Good to see you. Among the most formidable of those obstacles which the new Constitution will have to encounter may readily be distinguished. I already read that part of it. Those men in every state that resist all changes which may hazard a diminutive of power, emolument, and consequences of the offices they hold under the state establishments, and the perverted ambition of other class of men, who will either hope to aggrandize themselves by the confusions of their country. That's pretty important. Confusions of their country. These men will also flatter themselves with fairer prospects of elevation from the subdivision of the empire into several partial confederacies than from its union under one government. And I wonder if that's going to change in these essays that were written. It is not, however, my design to dwell upon the observations of this nature. Oh, well, maybe you should, because it is very important to dwell upon those observations, especially to see where things have gone, how they've gone astray from what the Constitution actually called for. I am well aware that it could be disingenuous to resolve indiscriminately the opposition of any set of men merely because of their situations might subject them to suspicion and to interested or ambitious views. Candor will oblige us to admit that even such men may be actuated by upright intentions. I don't know, could be upright intentions that they're looking to have at this period of time in the 1700s. Was it? I mean, we're getting ready to hit into the 1800s when this was written. And it cannot be doubted that much of the opposition which has made its appearance or may hereafter make its appearance will spring from sources blameless, at least, if not respectable, the honest errors of minds led astray by preconceived jealousies and fears. And that's a deep thought right there. If you're looking at minds being led astray from a goal, a purpose, a reason, and those fears because you're afraid of a king or a queen or a president or a Congress being led astray because you're either jealous, you want more power, or you have fears because somebody's going to take you out and trample you down. That's a righteous fear to have. So numerous indeed and so powerful are the causes which serve to give a false bias to judgment that we upon many occasions see wise and good men on the wrong as well on the right side of questions of the first magnitude to society. This circumstance, if duly attended to, would furnish a lesson of moderation to those who are ever so much persuaded of their being in the right on any controversy, and a further reason for caution in this respect might be drawn from the reflection that we are not always sure that those who advocate the truth are influenced by purer principles than their antagonists, ambitions, avarice, Personal animosity, party opposition, and many other motives not more laudable than these are apt to operate as well upon those who support and those who oppose the right side of a question. Were there not even these inducements to moderation, nothing could be more ill-judged than the intolerant spirit which has at all times characterized political parties. For in politics, as in religion, it is equally absurd to aim at making proselytes by fire and sword. Heresies in either can rarely be cured by persecution. That's pretty important if you take what he has to say in this. Persecuting somebody for their beliefs, whether they're on one side or the other, is absurd. Could be. Maybe not persecute them, not shutting them down, but allowing them to speak, allowing them to have their mind, allowing them to have their discourse. As long as it's within the realm of the Constitution, this is not bad. And yet, however just these sentiments will be allowed to be, we have already sufficient indications that it will happen in this, as all former cases of great national discussion. A torrent of angry and malignant passions will be let loose. To judge from the conduct of the opposite parties, we shall be led to conclude that they will mutually hope to advise the justness of their opinions and to increase the number of their converts by the loudness of their declamations and the bitterness of their invectives. An enlightened zeal for the energy and efficiency of government will be stigmatized as the offspring of a temper fond of despotic power and hostile to the principles of liberty. An over-scrupulous jealousy of danger to the rights of the people, which is more commonly the fault of the head than of the heart, will be represented as mere pretense and artifice. The stale bait for the popularity at the expense of the public good, it will be forgotten. On one hand, that jealousy is usually concomitant of love, and that the noble enthusiasm of liberty is apt to be infected with a spirit of narrow and illiberal distrust. On the other hand, it will be equally forgotten that the vigor of government is essential to the security of liberty, that, in contemplation of a sound and well-informed judgment, their interests can never be separated, that a dangerous ambition more often lurks behind the specious mask of zeal for the rights of the people than under the forbidden appearance of zeal for the firmness and efficiency of government. History will teach us that the former has been found a much more certain road to the introduction of despotism than the latter, and that those men who have overturned the liberties of republics, the greatest number, have begun their career by paying an obsequious court to the people, commencing demagogues and ending tyrants. In the course of the preceding observations, I have had an eye, my fellow citizens, to putting you upon your guard against all attempts from whatever quarter to influence your decision in a matter of the utmost moment to your welfare by any impressions other than those which may result from the evidence of truth. You will, no doubt, at the same time have collected from the general scope of them that they proceed from a source not unfriendly to the new Constitution. Yes, my countrymen, I owe to you that after given an attentive consideration, I am clearly of opinion it is your interest to adopt it. I am convinced that this is the safest course for your liberty, for your dignity, and for your happiness. I affect not reserves, which I do not feel. I will not amuse you with an appearance of deliberation when I have decided. I frankly acknowledge to you my convictions, and I will freely lay before you the reasons on which they are founded. The consciousness of good intention disdains ambiguity. I shall not, however, multiply professions on this head. It's interesting. My motives must remain in the depository of my own breast. My arguments will be open to all and may be judged by all. They shall at least be offered in a spirit which will not disgrace the cause of truth. Deep. I propose in a series of papers to discuss the following interesting particulars. And this is all in caps, so it must be really important. The utility of the Union to your political prosperity, the inefficiency of the present confederation to preserve that Union, the necessity of a government at least equally energetic with one proposed to the attainment of this object, the conformity of the proposed Constitution to the true principles of a republican government, its analogy to your own state constitution, and lastly, the additional security which its adoption will afford to the preservation of that species of government, to liberty and to property. In the process of this discussion, I shall endeavor to give a satisfactory answer to all objections which shall have made their appearance that may seem to have any claim to your attention. It may be perhaps thought superfluous to offer arguments to prove the utility of the Union, a point no doubt deeply engraved on the hearts of the great body of people in every state, and one which it may be imagined has no adversaries. But the fact is that we already hear it whispered in private circles of those who oppose the new Constitution, that the 13 states are of too great extent for any general system. Too great of any system. Getting pretty deep here. And that we must, of the necessity of resort to separate confederacies of distinct proportions or distinct portions of the whole. And there's a note to this. The same idea, tracing the arguments to their consequences, is held out in several of the late publications against the new Constitution. This doctrine will, in all probability, be gradually propagated till all its votaries enough to countenance upon an open avowal of it. For nothing can be more evident to those who are able to take an enlarged view of the subject that the alternative of an adoption of the new Constitution for a dismemberment of the Union, it will therefore be used to begin by examining the advantages of that union, the certain evils, and the probable dangers to which every state will be exposed from its dissolution. This shall accordingly constitute the subject of his next address. Interesting. I see that not too many views on this wonderful Sunday night for that introduction into the Constitution, or the introduction of the Federalist Papers. But it looks like I could probably knock out 2 of these in one night. So I think I'll continue on with the Federalist number 2 after a short break from our wonderful sponsors. Just kidding. This is an interesting thought process that I think a lot of people should cover. And it's amazing that this was after our Constitution, to try to ratify that Constitution, to embolden that Constitution, to make it something better than what it currently was. Let me pull up Rumble and see what we've got going on over there before I do the next one, just in case I've got people over there, because you never know if I'm going to have folks over on Rumble during a lot of these live streams. So it's always a good thing to have those on there. Let's see in my feed, and we'll pull it up. It looks like we currently have a few people in Rumble. Well, welcome. Good to see you. Make sure that you hit the like. Make sure that you're subscribed. I'm also over on YouTube, where I can pull up chats. I can't pull them over here on Rumble, and if there's a way to do it, I haven't seen it yet. So I currently have it showing on both sides, but you are more than welcome to give a little thumbs up, give a shout out there. I'll be looking out at you guys, giving a big smile of approval. So the Federalist part, and so it looks like we're covering the two, and the next portion of this one is basically, looks like part 1 and 2, or part 2 and 3, are pretty much of the same thing, the same mind, the same thought, the same process, by which is so important. Yeah, we'll do part 2 here also. Maybe I won't. Maybe I will actually hold off on part 2. If nobody's in here to actually watch this, they're just going to watch it on replay, I can just give it a nice half an hour, give a little bit of discussion if anybody was to want to discuss it, but it doesn't look like we've got anybody watching it, so there you go. I will do part 2 next Sunday. So I know it's a short stream, but I just was hoping there would be more people interested in this, and it's amazing to me that there isn't. But I guess that's how it goes. So without further ado, if it's not going to be no questions, no discussion, I might as well just finish it out and call it an evening. Give a little bit of shout out to everybody. Looks like Tweety jumped in. She's on. You enjoyed it? Well, excellent. Thank you, Pixel. I'll do another one next week. I may put 2 of them together, because it looks like next week's would be part 2, and 3, because it looks like a continuation from the first one, and 4, it's another continuation, and 5 looks like 5. There you go. So I will probably put all of those in to a single one next week. I think that I wanted to make sure that there was interest out there, that people got a little bit of something out of it. Tomorrow night, of course, I will be doing a Disturbed, which will have my cults. You've got 2 sponsored with coffees next week. Nice. Got part 2 sponsored with coffees. Excellent. That's very good. I thank you for that. But next week it'll be 3 parts of it. So we'll put those all together in one. And Disturbed will be tomorrow. Winning spoke to me about wanting to come on. I'm absolutely happy to have him come on. I just have to set up the stream for it. It'll be streamed over, not just here, but it'll be streamed over on Rumble. It will be the Garbage Eaters, or better known as the Brethren. And and then we're going into a much, actually, yeah. So I'm going to be doing the Brethren this upcoming Monday. And then I've got another one that's going to take, it's going to take quite a few episodes for me to cover for that. I'm trying to think, because I'll be out of the country for Italy, so I probably won't be able to do a couple of those, which is fine. I'm happy to miss a little bit on a couple of Mondays, but that'll be next month. I'll be out of country, and I'll probably be just doing some streams from travels, which would be fun. Those are always a blast to do, and hopefully the plan is when I get back, I have a very long series that gets crazy. When I say it gets crazy, it's going to get insane. And it's a little known group of people in particular that got indoctrinated into something, and it's hardcore, and it's bringing the receipts on the thought process of one particular person. And I think it's going to be a really good one. So I'm looking if you sent. Let me see. I'll pull it up here because I'm a slacker. Pull up the coffee right there. Continue with Google. And let's see what we got. Page. Okay. 1 month ago, 3 months ago. Angel's mom is awesome. And Rabbit. Good stuff. Very good stuff. 2 sponsored with coffees next week. Well, that'll be awesome. Yeah, next week will be really cool. So that's all I'm going to do for tonight. A short one. I figured a good introduction. Don't drop a comment if you like the video that I use for an intro. If it seems like it's too long or something, just let me know. I can always come in and shorten it down. But I thought it was a good way to really get the stream going and have some sort of intro outside of like the turtles or the screaming fox, having this guy jump in there. Yeah, having that guy jump in there, that's never good. So what I'll do is I will end it with the same thing that I started it with. And I'll probably cut it out short on that. But I'm hoping that this becomes a good series and finds a lot of interest from people. As I said, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate all of the follows, the likes, the thumbs ups, the comments. It's all good. And other than that, I'm going to call it a night. And just because I've streamed a lot this weekend, and I want to spend a little bit of time with my lovely wife. So everybody have a wonderful evening. Like I said, hit like, subscribe, or not. I mean, just be there, hang out, and enjoy. Peace.